So, this is the game Hamish Bassig versus Jesse Zafirakos from the Melbourne Spring Quads. And this was the last game. I think I already won, like, I secured first place and stuff, but I mean, every game matters, right? So, anyway, the thing about Jesse is that he does a lot of prep. So, I normally play like London System or Catalan, but I kind of thought like he would prep something against it, so I decided to play something I've never done before, and I legit freestyled it. So, the opening was knight f6, knight f3, g6, and then bishop g5. Now, this is the Tory attack, which I basically have no experience with. I don't know any of the theory, but I was counting on that. He didn't know anything either, since I've never played it before, and he doesn't normally play knight f6, g6. So, um, bishop g7, knight d2, c5, e3, takes. This is a very normal opening, but when he takes, he clarifies the structure, and now this position is sort of becoming a Caracan, especially after he plays d5, and it's a Caracan where black has fianchettoed their bishop, and we've played bishop g5, so it's a bit different, but it's well, I guess what we can say about the position right now, the bishop on g7 is misplaced, first of all. So once we play c3, like I did later on, his bishop is potentially misplaced long term. But with the move g6, black has the idea of bishop f5, so which he actually did play. And now his idea is if I take g takes, it's very interesting. Like he has these two pawns sort of like in a stone wall, as if he had played f5. But the advantage for him is that he has good control of the e4 square, but he can still play f6. In positions where you could just play f5 and then sort of try to get the stone wall set up, then the e5 square will be weak forever. But in this theoretical scenario, then you sort of get the best of both worlds. Now, it's not so simple. Like, of course, you weaken your king side, and maybe the pawns can be a bit weaker, but yeah, it's a very interesting dynamic way to play. But after he plays bishop f5, I don't actually think I sort of wanted a more quiet game, so I think queen e2 is fine. Um, just keeping the tension. He takes and plays queen d7, which is it's a pretty bad move to be honest. Just because normally black wants to play for knight f5, knight c4 in the future, and now with the move queen d7, you can never really go for this because let's say castles rook e1, knight a5. Like when you go for this plan with like b5, knight c4 next, now I can play knight e5. So the queen is just utterly misplaced here. The only potential idea is queen f5, but uh, playing for this doubled f pawn structure is a pretty dynamic way to play, and I don't think it would serve him so well in the end game as it would in the middle game. So takes queen d7, which I think is a slight mistake. Also note that knight b3, knight c5 can come with tempo. So castles, rook f1, simple development. And how I would assess this position, I sort of like white here. I guess I'm probably biased because I'm quite used to these positions, but generally, I guess what we can say is that uh, let me think. But okay, so my knight in f3 is quite well placed. His knight in f6 is also probably equal to my knight, but the difference is I have control of the e5 and e4 squares. So like maybe my knight's a bit more superior. Since this knight will never go to e4 and my knight can always go to e5 because of my control of the e file. So his knight in c6 is not well placed, of course, because of the pawn in c3. But I feel like the main difference in this position is the difference between our bishops. His bishop is absolutely useless on g7 for now, and my bishop on g5 is a very nice mobile piece. I can exchange it for the knight in f6 whenever I feel like it, or go to f4. So of course it's a very small advantage, but I feel like it's still something to play for, and I'm generally happy with those types of advantages. So e6, very normal. A4. So actually, I was thinking potentially he could play b5 here. So I was sort of worried about that. So this is just simple prophylaxis, and it does improve my position as it gains space on the queen side. So b6, a little strange, but his idea is to stop knight b3, knight c5 in the future. So it's prophylaxis from him. And now I play queen e3, and so in this position, there's no really good pawn breaks for white. There's c4, but after takes, black has the d5 square. And what I really don't like about c4, this is a pawns on people moment. You freed up this knight, and you freed up this bishop. So now they're both wonderful pieces. They used to be quite misplaced, but you freed up both of their pieces, and you haven't exactly done so much for your own pieces with this move c4. It's not even like the fact that you isolate your d4 pawn. It's more so the fact that you free up their pieces. So, queen e3. And my plan in this position is basically to generate a kingside attack. Since I don't have pawn breaks, we gotta play with our pieces, and we gotta play where we are strongest, and that is the kingside because of our open e-file. So, the idea of queen e3 is bishop h6. There is knight g4 for now, so we can't play it yet, but maybe I can play queen f4, queen h4, and then bishop h6. And once we exchange the bishop, we weaken the dark squares, and we have a bit more leverage on the king side to like try and create something. And I guess something for black that's a bit annoying is it's not so easy to make play on the queen side. He can play for a6 b5, but the big issue with that is you weaken the c5 square. So that's typically the plan for black in these positions, to create a minority attack for counterplay on the queen side. But because of this bishop being on this specific diagonal and not this diagonal where it usually is, the c5 square is much more weaker now. So, I mean, that's just another reason why this bishop is so misplaced here. Queen c7. I guess logical gets out of the way of knight e5 in the future. So, knight b3. Here, I feel like my knight in d2 is quite misplaced, and there's definitely a better square for it, which is the d3 square, which is very common in these Carlsbad positions. So, knight b3, it doesn't look like I'm going anywhere, but my idea is knight c1, knight d3. And then I'll have maybe a knight coming to e5 later, maybe knight to f4. And it also like discourages b5, because then c5 is like directly available to me. Knight e4. And just bishop h6. Continue with my plan. So knight d6, takes, knight c1. And this is like very textbook position for the Carlsbad structure, where we've exchanged both of the bishops, and this is in white's favor. And if you've seen like famous classical games from like Kramnik, Kasparov, Petrosian, in these two knight Carlsbad positions, they're generally considered better for the white side for this, which is, it's sort of not easy to explain. I don't even know why, but I just know white is comfortable here. I guess because we can stop their minority attack with a knight in d3, and we have free play on the king side. So knight a5, and it got a bit concrete here because I sort of missed that this knight b3 idea. And now, once I move my rook, queen d7 actually wins a pawn by force. Now he didn't go for this, but I just totally missed this idea because I don't think knight b3 it feels very artificial, of course, but yeah, I mean, I can play rook a2, of course, to defend it in advance, but it's extremely passive, and I don't want to play like that. But I decided to just sacrifice the pawn, not even with like much calculation. I just, like, for example, queen d7. What was my idea? I was thinking maybe h4. I think takes h5, and something like knight c4, queen g5. Like, even though if you don't even calculate anything, visually you can see that his pieces have totally abandoned the king side, and I have all of these pieces, and I just believed I had compensation. I mean, And the engine says +3, so of course there is compensation. You don't even have to calculate, just because of how stupid these pieces are, and the A pawn wasn't so relevant anyway. So he plays knight c4, queen g5, turn off the engine, queen d8. Wants to exchange queens, of course I will not oblige. And there's like pretty serious play on the king side now. Like this e6 pawn we can always sack on with like knight f4, knight e6. There's h4, h5 coming. Yeah, and meanwhile black has not exactly achieved so much on the queen side. So I mean I reckon white is definitely much like better here right now. So queen f6. His idea is queen f5 because I mean he'll probably get mated soon if he doesn't like try to trade queens. Knight f5. Takes with the rook, just stopping queen f5. Knight a5. So the threat is knight c4, and then he just wins. Oh wait, yeah, knight c4. What's the threat actually? I sort of forgot. I don't remember this game so well, but I just moved the rook in advance, and now rook f3 can come. And he plays this interesting defensive idea with h5, queen g3, h4. So this h pawn is it's weak, I guess, but at the same time, I sort of wanted to play h4, h5, so he's like gaining a bit more territory in the king side. It's very interesting, and the engine sort of doesn't mind it so much. On the other hand, it does weaken g6 a bit more. Weakens the g5 square, but I think it's a very creative idea. I respect him for that. So queen g4, knight c4. Rook f3, things are really heating up, and now he makes a crucial mistake here. Queen e7. I mean, it's not even like a bad move positionally. It just wasn't working out so well tactically. And here things got really heated. Like, yeah, things were so tactical. So knight f4. I'm threatening knight h5, knight f6, and then h4 dies, and then he will just get mated. So he has to play rook h8. And now rook e1, like it's a pretty beautiful position because all of my pieces are very nicely coordinating to kill the king, and his pieces are basically doing nothing. So I mean, just like by the laws of chess, I should have some tactic eventually. And he sort of goes greedy. He goes knight d2. I mean, it's positionally good, but I have beautiful combinational ideas here. Like, of course, he wants to get his knight to e4 and help defend, but he missed the stunning blow. Rook takes e6. A move I'm very proud of. And this is actually a double rook sacrifice because he can even take with check. But, of course, I calculated everything. So, first of all, if he takes the rook simply, it's made in 2. So, that's not going to happen. So basically he has to take here first. I mean, of course, if you move the queen, I'll just take here, and then same thing. So he has to take my rook of check, and of course I take back with the g-pawn, take with the queen, he just takes, and there's nothing, so... And now this is a crucial position. He doesn't actually have to take. For example, he can play queen d7, queen b7, queen d8, queen f8. Like, you have to calculate all of these moves, because... I mean, every defensive try is important if you sacrifice 2 rooks, right? So, but the main point is if he takes, I will very simply win the queen. And I feel like okay, we're up 3 pawns, and he has 2 rooks for the queen, but his king is utterly weak. The rooks are not coordinated right now, and his pawns are also weak. So I evaluated this as totally winning. He plays... I mean, queen d7 I can take, and then the queen dies. If he plays queen f8, this is a bit trickier. No, it's not. Wait. Yeah, just take. And then if takes, then mate. If queen d8, this was a more interesting line. You can take everything, and then there's 96, and then again you take. What else was there? Yeah, queen c7 also similar to queen d8. This is fork. So basically, he has to... queen b7 is like the best defensive try, and you have to like do a lot of calculation here. And after takes, obviously, if takes king here, there's check, and then you will win the queen simply. But there's a very interesting defensive try, king f8 after takes, and you literally have to calculate all of this, and it's not easy, but you gotta do it. And king f8, and all of a sudden it's not so clear like what you do next. But I calculated this in advance. And I wanted 96 here. So if takes, queen takes. What was my idea actually? I think I don't know what my idea was. My idea is queen f6 right now, and then queen here, and I didn't think there was a defense for black, and I think I was right. Yeah, no, there isn't. Queen e7, rook f6, and then I can win the queen. So yeah, and it's pretty overwhelming. But more interesting is king e7. And this position, it's pretty unclear, but at the very least I have equal material and a huge attack. So I didn't see a clear win here, but I knew this was probably good for me. So but he didn't play like the most critical try, I think, which was that potentially. He just went for this endgame, which is basically lost. But he does have like some small swirling chances with this h pawn, like with h3, maybe a rook coming to g2. But I had a lot of time, so I pulled through. Like h3, not allowed a pawn to h3. King f1, don't allow the rook in. F4 is actually like, there's only two moves that win here also, because his threat is check, and then like rook g8, and he's like, he either has a draw or maybe potentially winning with just like force mates. So you have to play f4. So after check here, check, you have king f3. And once you just get past that one trick, then it's a simple win. And this position he resigned. So that was my game against Jesse Zafirakos. I hope you enjoyed the video.